NASDAQ, meanwhile, closing at a brand new high, and the Dow hit a new record earlier after investors failed to see a smoking gun in the Comey testimony. But now markets are waiting for the big results out of the UK elections. Tonight, will Theresa May keep her job as prime minister, or do we get a left-winger in there? We could see some major market moves on all this coming tomorrow. Joining me now is Scott Martin of Kingsview Asset Management, a Fox News contributor, along with Kevin Kelly of Recon Capital. Scott, I always look to the market. Maybe it's, sometimes the market will overshoot on one side or the other, but getting through all of the political arguments, you look at the numbers, and the market clearly did not think that there was anything impeachable in what they heard today.
No, it didn't, David. And you're right to look at the markets, because the markets, right or wrong, or like them or dislike them, depending on your positioning, are the ultimate determinant. And I believe that the market saw today as the necessary evil, the necessary passing, finally, of this Comey distress. And therefore, the administration and the markets themselves can hopefully focus on an agenda that, remember, I believe is somewhat baked in still to these market prices, which is tax reform, regulatory reform, and possibly the repatriation of all those dollars that are overseas that are just sitting there waiting to be reinvested in the States.
Well, Kevin, talk about overseas. We have this very important election. It's not so much because England is key to the world economy. It's because we have the choice between a moderate conservative, Theresa May, and a far left guy, Jeremy Corbyn. He could really dramatically change the face of Great Britain.
Yeah, I think when you talk about overseas, they certainly play into our markets to a degree. But we saw when the British referendum happened, it was very short-lived, especially because when you look at the FTSE 100, a lot of those companies have earnings overseas. They're only impacted 25% by the British market. What really happened today overseas is that the ECB left rates unchanged, and I think that's telling. I think that also played in today's markets and the performance returns. We know that Comey was synonymous with volatility, especially during the election cycle, but he wasn't today because all of the information was out there. The only new information that came out was with Loretta Lynch.
All right, the beginning of the end of Dodd-Frank, House Republicans are set to pass the, quote, crown jewel of the GOP's plan for regulatory reform, effectively killing laws put in place during the Obama administration.
Today, House Republicans are pushing a dangerous Wall Street first. Wall Street first, that's who they are, a bill that would drag us back to the days of the Great Recession.
She was so close. She almost got it right. The vote is expected in the next half an hour. So, Kevin, what do you think?
What I think is that Dodd-Frank is an albatross around the free market's neck, and you can see it because there's 22,000 pages of rules and regulations that came out of it, not only affecting Wall Street, but also merchant processing fees, which small businesses rely on. So for her to say that, it's completely disingenuous. And so as you've said earlier in the segment, listen, there's a delicious buffet of bad behavior, and it's coming from Dodd-Frank.
Well, meanwhile, they're trying to push the president's agenda through a fog of all these investigations. President Trump hosting an infrastructure summit right now with governors and mayors at the White House. The president predicting his infrastructure plan would, quote, take off like a rocket ship. Together, we're going to make America great again. Scott, is it conceivable that through all these investigations, they could pass an infrastructure plan which is going to be very expensive and really transform the fixture, the great roads and railways and bridges of the United States? That's a big order.
It is a big order, David, and as time goes by, you got to feel like a lot of this agenda is slipping away. I mean, I think every day or every week we find out that even though the Congress is so Republican denominated, or at least demonstrated that on the elections, it's not working out in Trump's favor, and so as these agendas keep getting put off, you have to wonder if things are going to get on track before, 2018, which is really not that far away as far as midterms go. So the sooner the better with things. But I'll tell you, the infrastructure plan to me is at major risk.
All right, Scott, Kevin, thank you very much. Melissa.